Welcome everyone to the part 3 of data preprocessing. Let's see the goals for today's lecture. First of all, we will have a recap of data transformation. Then we will see a technique for transformation for categorical variables. So first of all, data transformation is the process of converting data from one format, such as a database file, XML document, or Excel spreadsheet, into another. Transformations sometimes include converting unclean, invalid, or unusable raw data sources into clean, valid, and useful representations. Data transformation is required for all steps in the data management process, including data integration, data migration, data warehousing, and data preparation. So let's see the technique for today's lecture. It's called One Hot Encoding. One hot encoding refers to the process of creating a new column, also known as a dummy variable, for each category of a feature. Therefore, if we have a categorical attribute that, let's say, has 1000 unique values, the one hot encoding will result in the creation of 1000 additional new attributes, which is undesirable. To put it simply, one hot encoding is a very effective method, but it can only be used with the categorical data that have a few distinct values. One hot encoding generates n dummy features for n categories. When a data point belongs to a category, the related dummy feature is set to 1 and all dummy features are set to 0. So let's see the steps for one hot encoding. The first step is, in order to import the one hot encoder class, we will use the preprocessing module from the sklearn package. Next, we will create the one hot encoder object. The third step is to perform one hot encoding on the categorical variable. In the last, merge one hot encoded dummy variable to the actual data frame, but remember to delete the actual column. So this is an example of one hot encoding. As you can see that here we have different states in the state column, and Maharashtra here have the value of 1 in 2. So it means 2 is representing Maharashtra. As the total number of states are 5, so you can see 5 columns here. There are additional columns after one hot encoding. And as you can see here, Gujarat, all of the values here except the first one. So it means that 0 represents Gujarat and all of these values are 0. Now let's implement. First of all, I will open Jupyter Notebook. Let's open the folder of Introduction to Data Science, then Data Preprocessing, and I will create a new notebook. Let's rename the notebook as Data Preprocessing Part 2. First of all, I will import the Markdown. So, importing libraries. Now I will say import numpy as np, import pandas as pd, and then I will say from sklearn. I will use the package of sklearn dot preprocessing, and I will use the module of preprocessing, and then I will say import one hot encoder from this module. Let's use another markdown, and this markdown is for reading CSV. And I will say HR data equals to PD dot read CSV for reading the file, and the name of file is HR data dot CSV, which is actually a comma separated file. Let's run it. Now I will say HR data dot head to see the first 5 rows. Now, as you can see here that my target variable is almost in the middle of the dataset. So I will take it to this index. So I will say columns equals to HR data dot columns, and I will say make a list of it and store it into columns. Now I will define a new position, and the position is 10. I will say columns dot insert and insert it on new position. Now pop out the column on the index left. Now I will say HR data equals to HR data columns. Now I want to replace all of these columns names into lowercase and remove the spaces with an underscore. So I will say HR data equals to dot columns equals to HR data dot columns dot str dot lower, which actually converts the names into lowercase. Now I will say str dot replace, convert it into a string, and then replace the spaces with an underscore. Let's run it. Now let's say HR data dot head once again to see the changes. As you can see that the target variable is in the last. Now, as you can see here that we have two categorical columns. One is ordinal, which is salary, and the second is department, which is nominal. Let's say HR data dot group by department dot mean. Let's run it. All right. As you can see here that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 departments, and these are the values of other columns associated with those departments. So as you can see here that this column is not only categorical, but also nominal. Therefore, I will use the technique of one hot encoding now. But first, I will use a markdown and say one hot encoding. Now, first of all, I would like to create an object of one hot encoding class and store it in a variable of OHE. I'll say OHE equals to one hot encoder, and I will pass some parameters such as parse equals to false and handle unknown as error. Now I will create a data frame and I would say pd dot data frame to create a data frame of all the one hot encoded variables. So for encoding, I will say OHE dot fit transform and transform HR data and take the column of department. Now let's say OHE df dot head to see the one hot encoded variables. All right. So as we know that we have 10 departments, so as you can see, the 10 of the departments are now one hot encoded. Now let's move towards the next step. I will say HR data equals to HR data dot join, and I will join the one hot encoded data frame with HR data. Now I will say HR data dot head. As you can see here that the department sale is now one hot encoded into these columns. So the first department is here, and you can see that the value is 1 in the 7th column. So let's see above. As you can see here that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So sales is on the 7th number. So the one hot encoding has put 1 here because sales department is present in the first row. And it's similar for the first 5 rows. So that's why the value is present 1 in here. Now we have to do one more thing. HR data dot drop and drop the column of department access equals to 1 and in place equals to true. Let's run it. Now let's say HR data dot head once again to see the difference. All right, so the department column is now removed and we have escaped the dummy trap. Now we have only these columns here which represent the department. We can also replace these counting of column names with the department names. Now let's go back to slides. So this is the end of today's lecture. As you can see here, I have placed the link of dataset here, and these are your few tasks. First of all, clean your data, then do some exploratory data analysis. Then do one hot encoding for categorical variables. Now good luck, see you next time.